Mode.
Good morning and welcome to the Mini Storage Messenger Self-Storage Webinar Series. I'm Poppy Behrens, publisher at Minico, and we're delighted to have you in the audience today. This is one of several informative webinars planned for self-storage owners, operators, managers, investors, developers, and other industry professionals. The sponsor of today's webinar is Self-Storage Facility Management, presented by owner Kevin Rollings. Kevin has been in the industry with 25 years of rental experience. After managing rental stores with Nations Rent for 15 years, he became the regional director of Indiana-based Alcatraz storage facilities. 5 years later, Kevin now owns 3 of the facilities he once managed. He also serves on the advisory board of the Indiana Self-Storage Association. Kevin is dedicated to helping others achieve their goals by offering a new approach to learning about self-storage investment. This year marks the 34th anniversary of the Mini Storage Messenger, providing the self-storage industry with in-depth news and information. Each issue of Messenger offers cover stories and feature articles on the most timely industry topics. For more information, please visit ministoragemessenger.com, the education destination for self-storage. We invite you to submit questions today throughout the webinar. To do so, simply type your question in the question area and click Send. Depending on the question, we will answer it either privately or to the entire group. We will try to answer as many questions as we can during the Q&A period at the end of the webinar. However, those that can't be answered due to time constraints will be answered by Kevin once the webinar has concluded. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing on demand from our archives at ministoragemessenger.com. Today's presentation should run about 45 minutes, with the remainder of the hour open to questions and answers. And now it's my distinct pleasure to turn the presentation over to Kevin.
Thank you, Poppy. I appreciate it. My name, as Poppy said, is Kevin Rawlings, and I own Self-Storage Facility Management and also 3 Alcatraz facilities in Indiana. My road to ownership and success with this ownership has been one like many of you have probably gone through. I've kind of walked in the same shoes that you're walking in now, I'm sure. Wanting to be an entrepreneur, finding the right business model, something that I could enjoy and continue to do over and over again. So who am I exactly and why me? Well, I'm the kind of guy that I don't wear an $800 suit and tie to work. I come in dressed in blue jeans and a polo shirt because I know that more likely there's going to be a few days that get a little bit dirty around my facility, trying to get some things cleaned up, straightened up, and looking good. First and foremost in this industry, I think it's important that your family's behind you. And I am a family man. My wife has been really supportive of getting involved in this industry. And, well, when you get right down to it, she is the boss. I originally started out, as Poppy said, in the rental equipment business, renting large equipment and tools, and worked my way into the self-storage industry. I was able to earn my certified self-storage management through the Self-Storage Association, and I began as manager at a self-storage facility here in Indiana. From that point, I worked my way up as a facility manager, and then fortunately the opportunity presented itself to be able to buy 1, 2, and eventually 3 of the facilities that I've been regional manager for. So the purpose of forming the company Self-Storage Management was to be able to help other people realize the dream of being an entrepreneur in this particular industry. I think it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it immensely, and I just think that anybody gets into it is going to find that it's very enjoyable. The wonderful thing about it is that about 4 out of every 5 people who own a self-storage facility are more or less just like you and me, people that want to be an entrepreneur. Most of them just own 1 facility. But the beautiful thing about self-storage itself is that someone almost always has some kind of a need to store something especially with the homeowners associations that won't let you keep your boat parked in the driveway now, won't let you put a barn up in the backyard. Self-storage facilities have become something that people need because they like to have their voice or their extra thing. One of the things that I absolutely love about this industry, and I loved it when I was in the rental equipment and tool business too, is I think it's so fantastic to be able to own something, let somebody else use it. Then at the end of the day, I still own it, but I've collected money from them. How can you beat that? Owning something is the best way to go. And in the commercial real estate field, it's probably one of the best out there. You don't have a lot of tenants to have to deal with that are very needy or high maintenance. Nobody lives here. They just store their possessions here. That's what makes it so nice. No matter what happens with the economy, a good economy, people want to buy new things. They look at what they're replacing and say, you know, that's not so bad. I don't think I want to get rid of that. So I'll just keep it. Where they keep it? Usually in a self-storage facility. If the economy has a downturn, like we've experienced over the last few years, some people have to downsize. They don't want to part with some of the possessions that they have, but they no longer have space for them. Self-storage is a reasonable monthly rate where they can store those possessions until the economy and their particular situation improves. So regardless of what the economy does, self-storage is a pretty solid business. And it looks like the demand will just continue to grow and grow and grow. But the bottom line is you let other people do it and you own it at the end of the day. Pretty tough to beat that. As I said before, I have 3 Alcatraz facilities here in Indiana. My flagship is the Brownsburg location. It's my baby when you get right down to it. It was my first, and it's the station myself and worked out of. I also have been fortunate enough to be able to get one in Fort Wayne and another one in Muncie. As I was saying, though, Brownsburg's my baby. Kind of use it as my flag. I have a lot of pride in this facility. It sits on 4 acres, has 249 units, and we have a wide variety of different sizes that will fit pretty much anybody's needs. Not to mention we have parking spaces for boats, campers, trailers, anything of that nature. And as you can see, we have a pretty good building size on the very front where we have office space too. And when I first was able to buy this facility, it was at 86% occupancy. That is above what the average occupancy rate is on a national basis, but it still wasn't where Brownsburg could be. After sitting down and talking with the bank, we were able to negotiate a price that was just a little bit under $1.4 million. And putting in a little bit more effort, working on the facility, we were able to bring it all the way up to 100% occupied. Kind of rare in the self-storage industry, but it's not impossible. And I was able to do it just by working hard, talking with people, networking in the community, and bringing them in here. The nice part about it is that this facility, as I said, 249 units, brings in $180,000 a year. That's a really wonderful thing. The next facility, bought just about a year ago. It's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it truly is a unique facility. All the units are under one roof at this particular facility. There are 279 units total, but it's all temperature control. So there's no drive-up units or anything like that. Everything is easy to access, and as I said, it's all under one roof. This particular facility is located in an industrial park. Some people would say, ooh, I don't know about that. I love it because the tenants that I go after are business tenants, and I think that's a good way to build your occupancy. Plus, they normally will stay longer than what a residential tenant will stay. This particular facility has 2 loading docks, that are truck level. And at the time that I bought it, it was only at about 62, 63% occupancy. Like I said, that was around a year ago, and we purchased it from the bank. It had been returned to the bank, and we talked to them for about 6 or 7 months while we went through the negotiation on the price. They wanted some silly money for it. We finally got them down to what I thought was an acceptable price, which was $1.25 million. And as of today, the occupancy rate at that facility is 86%. It brings in just a little less than $240,000 a year. So you see, there's still room for improvement there. We're not going to be happy with it until we're at least in the mid-90s, but we've still been able to increase it by almost 23% in just a year's time with the different things that we employ with our marketing strategies and things like that. But our biggest selling point on this particular facility is the fact that it's all temperature control. And then the opportunity came along a couple months after that for the facility in Muncie, Indiana. This particular facility has 200 units, office space, different sized units, and it also has room for parking. Originally started talking to the bank about this, and it took us about 6 months to get to the point where we both agreed on something. But their problem was they didn't know how to run a self-storage facility. They didn't want to run a self-storage facility, and they didn't really care other than the fact that they hoped to be able to sell it and get rid of it. So consequently, back in October of last year, we were able to come up with an agreement and purchase this facility. One of the first things that I found as I was doing due diligence leading up to the purchase and after the purchase is that the occupancy was very low. It was at 32%. And when you counted the people that hadn't paid their bill, hadn't been contacted by anybody, from owner, bank, anybody, the true occupancy was about 22% because those people were probably not going to pay their bill. We were able to get the negotiation done, and believe it or not, like I said, 200-unit facility sitting on about 2.5 acres, and we purchased it for $200,000. It also has a half-acre lot that's included with it that gives you plenty of room for expansion. Beautiful thing about this, and I know you hear it all the time, zero down. This particular situation, the bank was so anxious to get rid of this property, we were able to buy it for zero money down. That does not happen very often. It's a bit of a rarity. But then there are some extenuating circumstances that went along with it also. However, we worked through the circumstances that we had there, and we knew what we had going into it just because of the due diligence, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But in a little over 4 months' time, we've been able to build the occupancy at that facility up to 72% now. So we've had a 40% increase in what the real occupancy was when we purchased it. Really about a 50% increase to who was paying. And my projection for it for this year is that it should bring in about $120,000 for that first full year of ownership. However, talking about zero money down on it, one of the things that we emphasized to the bank as we were going through the negotiation process was how much work this facility was going to need. And it was a lot. It had not had very much done to it for over a year's time. It had just basically sat. They had more or less had a gentleman looking over the place, kind of keeping an eye on it, but not really putting much effort into it. So one of the first things that I did was I contacted the former manager to see if he would be interested in coming back. He was local to the area, pretty well known, pretty involved in the community, And he was very eager to come back, which I was excited about. I was glad that he wanted to be a part of bringing this facility back to what it could be. Now, as I said earlier, with the bank, we did it at $0 down. When you get right to it, though, we put $11,700 down. And that was because of the improvements that were needed almost immediately at this facility, just because of the rundown state. However, that's really not a very big down payment when you get right down to it. And it increased the value of the property almost immediately by taking care of its fixes. We put together a marketing plan. We contacted the tenants to let them know we're here. If you need us, please call. If you have questions, please call. Sorry about the problems that you've been through, but we're going to be here for a while, and we sure appreciate you. The other thing I said was the manager that we brought back. He was pretty heavily involved in the community, which I think is important regardless of where your facility is. He would get out there and let some people know about that. Let them know that it's under new management. Things of that nature. All of those things combined helped us in, like I said, a little over 4 months, bring this facility up 40 percentage points in occupancy. Some of the immediate changes that we made, and I think probably the most important thing, especially in this day and age, is we had a security system installed. The fencing that was there was okay, but it had a couple holes in it, didn't have barbed wire across the top, plus it needed to be moved to accommodate people that use the facility, and we did those things. The landscaping was, it was atrocious. And regardless of what the business is, your curb appeal is so important, so we took care of that landscaping almost immediately. Changed what the entire facade of the facility looked like. We put in a new office system. We got that set up with the gate to make ease of access very easy for the customer. And we also did another facility audit once we got into the facility. So there was a little bit that went into it to get it started, but those things were necessary just to get it up to its point of being something that people want to come and rent from. The point on this is that I was able to do this with each of these 3 facilities. As I said earlier, I'm pretty sure I'm like most of you out there, kind of walk down the same path in the same shoes, wanting to be an entrepreneur, wondering, is it going to take a gazillion dollars to be able to do it? Well, the bottom line is, no, it didn't. It's a little bit of money to get started. But to be able to go from a manager's role into an ownership role is not that difficult, especially in this industry. And one of the things that helps with that so much is that this is one of the biggest sectors of the economy that continues to grow, and it has been over the last 30, 35 years. There are well over 20,000 small business entrepreneurs in this industry. Now, about 3/4 of them only own one facility, and that's what most of them are content with and happy with, just having one facility. They get a nice income, nice revenue stream from it. They're very happy with that. As far as the quote-unquote mega companies or the big guys that are out there, there are 4 of them that more or less go coast to coast, but they only account for less than 10% of all the storage facilities throughout the country. So that leaves you with somewhere around 30,000 facilities that are still there that are basically owned by mom and pops. So the bottom line is really, if 22,000 other people can do this, can become an entrepreneur, own and operate a self-storage facility, why can't you? I used to ask myself that question all the time. And I found out you can do it, and it's not that difficult to do. But it does take a little bit of work and a little bit of checking everything out to make sure that you're in a good situation. What we call that is due diligence. Due diligence is the most important thing that you can do with and for your business. It will determine whether you're going to succeed or fail. I like to think that there are 3 phases to the due diligence. To be able to get the wheels in motion or to be able to start on your journey, there are a couple things that you need to do before you even look at what the self-storage facility has to offer you. First thing you need to do is start to put together your infrastructure. You're going to run this. How are you going to do this? What do you need to do this? The next thing, the first part of that infrastructure is your credibility kit. What's a credibility kit? A credibility kit is basically your history, both professional and personal. It's going to tell what you've done in your career, in your professional life, and where you're at in your personal life. That's going to be important. You're going to need that information when you go to talk to a bank or you go to talk to an investor. That's really the very first phase of getting into the due diligence. Then you're going to move into the second phase, and in this phase, what you're looking to get is about a fourth's worth of paper. Due diligence does equal paperwork, and I know. Everybody hates paperwork. Believe me, I hate it. But the bottom line is, it's a part of business. It's a part of everyday life. No matter what they told us years ago about using our computers and we weren't going to need paper anymore, it seems like we need even more today. But there's quite a bit of paperwork that you're going to need to start to assemble, to put together. Some of those items are going to be a rent roll. You found the self-storage facility that you're interested in. You know that the owner is interested in selling it. So you start to talk to him. You ask him for some of the information that you need to make your decision. That rent roll is one of the very first things that you need. What's a rent roll? It's going to give you a list of all the tenants, the unit numbers that they're in, what they pay per month, how long they've been there, and if they're current or delinquent. The next thing you're going to ask for is a profit and loss statement. But you just don't want the current one. You want to go back over 2-3 years, get that profit and loss statement. You're also going to ask for, along with the rent roll and the P&L statement, you want an expense statement. What have they been paying for? Oh, sure, you got to pay for utilities, phone, electric, gas, payroll, taxes, property taxes, federal taxes. You don't want to know what all of those are. All the expenses are very important. And then there's a kicker to that. The unseen expenses are something I would absolutely warn you to be on the lookout for. Unseen expenses can be things such as a repair that needs to be done that doesn't easily come to the eye. Maybe a roof's bad on one of the buildings in the facility. Maybe there's a hole in the fence back here. There are a few things that can be unseen expenses. And unfortunately, most of the time when somebody's looking to sell something, they'll tend to kind of forget, oh yeah, that needed to be done. So you need to be looking at what the expenses are and also looking at the facility very, very closely. So now you've gathered up all this paperwork. You've got rent rolls, you've got P&L, you've got expenses, you've got a list of what the income has been for the last 2 to 3 years. Now you're going to sit back, really start to review the information. You're going to look everything over. You're going to start putting notes down to yourself. You're going to look through everything. Now you're going to get to a point where, oh no, I got to put a little money out of pocket because I really should get an appraisal done and probably an environmental survey. There may be another survey or two I ought to get done. And yes, these will cost you a couple $100 to be done. But you're talking about your future with buying this facility. You want to be able to go into it and have success. That's part of the deal to ensure that you're doing everything you can to have success with your facility. That appraisal and those surveys will be very important. Not to mention, it's going to show the bank or any investor that you might have just how serious you are about making this facility a profitable venture. And then there's one more thing you want to do, both before and after the purchase. You want to do a facility audit. Facility audits usually take about a day to a day and a half to do. And there's not a better way to get to know the business that you're buying than by doing that facility audit. You're going to walk the grounds, you're going to count locks, you're going to check roofs, you're going to look over the fence, you're going to go through the files with all the contracts for the tenants in them, you're going to revisit the P&L statement, you're going to revisit the expenses, you're going to see how everything meshes, how everything works out. That facility audit lets you get to know your new business, or what will soon be your new business, as intimately as anything else that you're going to do. And whether you're a manager or investor, turning your facility into more than just another facility that's out there on the road, that's better than your competitor that's, 2 miles away. There are 3 things I think that you need to do to be able to make your facility profitable. The first thing that you're going to do goes right back to the facility audit. This lets you get to know that facility. It lets you know every little detail. You're going to learn exactly what the income is, exactly what the expenses are. You're going to be able to see what the past performance is. And anybody who doesn't want to give you at least a year's worth of what they've been doing, I think I would lose interest in them right there. They should be proud of what they've done, regardless of the reason that they're selling it for. And one of the most important things, if you're going to be an absent owner, the manager you put in place is so important. But that manager's compensation should also equal the facility performance. But a happy manager is going to make that facility performance even better. Number 2, the marketing plan. Marketing is so important. Get to know your community, find out what's going on, be involved, and start to put together a plan to let people know who you are, what you have, and what you can do for them. That's what marketing is. Number 3, those expenses, you want to slash and burn them, baby. I mean, that is the way to make your facility profitable, is through cutting the expenses. Look at the expenses that are there. Where's all this money being paid out to? Is it a landscaping company that's charging you $400 a month for $50 worth of work? There are just so many different things in the expenses that if you really pay attention to, you can find a way to save money almost immediately. And more important than anything else is property tax. The day that you sign those closing papers, you ought to be in touch with the county auditor's office to find out what you have to do to file a property tax appeal. Doesn't matter if maybe the previous owner filed for an appeal the year before, won or lost. It should be the first thing that you do, because that is one of the biggest ways that you can save expense almost right off the bat. It may take you 6 months or a year to realize it by the time it gets through the governmental system, but it's one of the first things that you want to do. One of the other things that is just so important from a marketing standpoint is know your competition. Normally in this type of industry, a self-storage facility is going to draw the bulk of its customers, 90% of them, from within a 3 to 5 mile radius. Is there a competitor just a mile down the road from you? Is the nearest one 5 miles away? Are there only 2 of you completely in the town? Know your competition. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about that. You can give them a phone call and act like you're Joe Schmuckatelli, trying to find out what kind of sizes they have, what their rates are. Personally, I walk in, introduce myself, tell them why I'm there, ask them if they'd like to exchange information. This way, not only do I find out what they're offering service-wise, but I'm able to meet the people that are there also. And that's very important in getting to know your competition. You can normally tell what people are like and how hard they work just by meeting with them. And believe me, I love walking into another facility and there's a guy sitting back there wearing an old ratty t-shirt, sitting down, got a TV on, kind of looks up like, oh man, I wish you'd waited till a commercial to come in. Doesn't want to get up, isn't real friendly. I wish there was a manager like that in every location that's near mine. I ask my people to get up, greet people when they come in, shake their hands, thank them for coming in. Those kind of things are so important. And that's just part of getting to know your community and getting involved in your community. Even if it's doing the 4th of July parade, or maybe you have Santa Claus come to your facility and all the kids can come in, anything that allows your name to get out in the community and shows how involved you are there. That's all part of the marketing. Advertising and marketing are not the same thing either. I know most of you know that. But it is an important point to stress no matter what the situation is. Advertising is important, but it doesn't have to be expensive. There are a lot of ways that you can advertise your facility and do different things that will bring people into you. Now, I spoke a little bit earlier about the Muncie location and how we had the landscaping changed pretty considerably. Said something about curb appeal. That curb appeal is so important. Think about some of the different businesses that you visit to take care of various things, whether it's a supermarket or a department store or a flower shop because your wife's mad at you and you got to try to get back in good with her again. Whatever the situation, when you're looking for those kind of businesses, it's usually how they look that draws you into their door. Well, a self-storage facility is no different. And it may be a little bit important because people are basically going to be entrusting your facility with their prized possessions. So they want to feel comfortable where they're leaving their items. So curb appeal is very important. Visibility is important. What I mean with visibility is mostly your signage. Sometimes that's going to be regulated by the town that you live in. They may not allow you to put up banners. They may only allow you to put up banners 2 months out of the year. Whatever they allow you to do, whether you can have a high-rise sign, a monument sign, anything like that, that signage is important so that people see the name of your business and know where you're located at. And location is important. Self-storage doesn't necessarily have to be on a main road. As you can see, it's not a huge deal to me. It is important, but I have 2 out of 3 that are in industrial parks, and I like them being there because that allows me to go after the type of tenant that I want. Keep that in mind when you are looking at facilities and what you see where they're located at. Okay. You've done your due diligence. This self-storage facility is fantastic. I'm buying it. You've made your offer. It's been accepted. The bank's taking care of you. You're in the facility. Wow, you've built your occupancy up. You've got a nice income level coming in. What can I do to earn a little bit more income. What are some of the revenue streams that are out there? Well, that's one of the wonderful things about self-storage. There are so many things that you can do to add income to what you're already getting based on the units that you're renting. Truck rentals from U-Haul, Penske, Budget, whomever. Once people get used to you having trucks that they can come and rent, and it usually takes about 3 to 6 months for that to occur, is one of the absolute best revenue streams that you can get. Selling lots, boxes, tape, anything that involves packing things. Since people are storing things in self-storage, they're going to need to pack it away. Those are good things. I like to have shelving available that people don't buy. Remember, I like to things, let them pay me for it, use it for the whole day, and then at the end of the day, I get their money and still own it. Pallets and shelving are another great thing. They can rent those things from you, put it into your unit, and then they're paying you a little bit extra each month, just for the convenience of that shelving or using pallets to get the things up off the floor. The shipping center, not a bad idea. A place where people can maybe come and pick up their mail from a P.O. box, or they need to have a package shipped. One of my favorite things is to set up an eBay center. So many people want to sell stuff on eBay. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Or, sure, it takes a lot of time. You tell people that you're an eBay center, you have them beat things into you left and right for you to put on there and sell for them. And for just a few minutes of your time, you're able to make 20% of whatever they sell for. Those are the kind of revenue streams that I like. You don't have to put a whole lot of effort into it. You do have to learn them. You do have to understand what your community is wanting. But once you've learned that, you'll know what revenue producers to put into your facility that are just going to add income into what you're already doing. I really think this is a fun industry to be in. Just about anything that you own or manage, you have some headaches. But in this particular business, the self-storage field, the biggest headache that you have is occasionally having to collect money from a delinquent tenant. That's the biggest headache that you have. I don't think that's too bad. There are a lot of other businesses where the headaches are a whole lot worse. As I started out in the rental equipment business and moved into the self-storage business, and I have absolutely loved it since the day I started in it. I think it's a lot of fun. We're able to do quite a few things with it, and I'm able to enjoy getting out of bed in the morning and going to work. And when you get right down to it, that's one of the most important things there is to be able to enjoy going into the office every day. You also get to meet a lot of interesting people. It's going to be something very important for you also. Are you going to be a hands-on owner? Are you going to be the manager in your own facility? Or are you going to hire a manager that's going to work that facility for you? Either way, whether it's yourself or someone that you hire, they need to be people. I'm sorry about that. They need to be people. They need to enjoy talking to people, getting to know them a little bit. And that's one of the best things about this business, because when they are asking people a little bit about themselves, people love to talk about themselves. So there's going to be an interest right off the bat, and you've got yourself a new tenant just because of that personality or that interest in what they're doing and how they've gotten there. So it's all very, very important. After what we've talked about here today, I'm sure some of you are saying, why go with self-storage facility management? What can he do to help me realize my dream of being an entrepreneur? Or what can he do to help me with the facility that I have right now? Well, personally, I know I'm a lot different than anybody else that's out there. I tend to look at this business a lot of different ways than what probably the norm is. I know that the old politically correct term of thinking outside the box is so overused. You get sick and tired of hearing it. But the things that we do to try to build the occupancy in our facilities is definitely outside the box. It's not stuff that you hear on an everyday basis. I think it's important to be able to establish stuff in that kind of a manner so that you're able to get the ultimate out of what you do with your tenants, with your business itself. Because your tenants equal business, and the more tenants equal more success. So it's all very important. So as far as being able to help people, whether you're a manager now, whether you own 3 houses and you're tired of dealing with houses, I love commercial real estate. I just want to find something that fits better. I think I'll get into self-storage. What we do is we have classes where we teach you the things that we've done with our facilities and what we look for when we're buying a facility, all the different steps that go from thinking about it to actually doing it to having success with it. We limit our class sizes to only 20 to 25 managers or investors because I think you should be able to have one-on-one time so that you get your questions answered, so that you truly learn about this business and what all is involved with it. We do these throughout the country. My preference is to do them here in Brownsburg because then I'm able to take you on a facility tour here at my Brownsburg facility where you can get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, and find out what it's actually like to be in a self-storage facility, see how it runs, maybe even interact with some of the customers that come in and out, ask them questions, and be able to learn from them also. We do it over a 2-day period of time. There's not going to be a bunch of upselling. You're not going to get a bunch of fluff stuff. I hate that kind of stuff. And most importantly, if you decide to come to one of our classes, you're going to have access to me by phone or by email for a year, year and a half, whatever it takes to get you to that stage where you're ready to buy and get into that first self-storage facility. That's what all this is about. You're not going to find out, oh, there's an extra fee to be able to have a mentoring or some coaching. I'd rather see you take that kind of money and put it into your business because that's what helps you start to make your business successful. Remember we were talking about cutting expenses? Well, that's a pretty good way to cut the expense. When we do them here in Brownsburg, we do them at West Chase Golf Club. I'm in an ownership group with that golf course, and believe me, if you're thinking about things, don't ever buy a golf course. Oh my goodness, stick with self-storage. It's so much more fun. Well, what we do when you come in for the classes is you get a tour of our Brownsburg facility, and as I said, you're able to get your hands dirty here a little bit, see how things really are. And we also go over everything that is pertinent to putting yourself in position to purchase a facility, and then everything that you need to successfully and make it profitable for yourself, to give yourself a nice income. Now, if you're thinking, oh, wow, maybe I can get rich quick overnight doing this, self-storage, that'd be great. I'll be a millionaire in a year. If you're thinking that, you're wasting your time. It's not worth it. You're not going to get rich quick overnight. You can earn a very comfortable and solid living in this industry. You can get to a point where you're very happy and very comfortable with what you're doing. But I'm sorry, you're just not going to become a multimillionaire in a couple of years with self-storage. It doesn't work that way. I haven't been able to find anything that does, to tell you the truth. So that's what we have to offer to you. That's what we look at differently. To a regional manager, to having the opportunity to buy my first self-storage facility, and then a second one, and a third one. The other thing, maybe you're sitting there wondering, is self-storage the right kind of business for me and my personality, or for me and what I desire out of my career? Give me a call. We do a free 30-minute consultation for anyone and everyone who's interested in self-storage. Find out if it is the right business for you. Find out if you think that this would make you happy for the rest of your working life. Be happy to talk to you anytime. You can actually get on the website, selfstoragefacilitymanagement.com, and there's a form you can fill out. Or you can give my Director of Operations, Linda, a call. And I don't know if you can see the numbers that are on the screen or not. Best number to call is the 800 number, 800-844-0065. The other thing, too, is that I know with this kind of an economy and everything, it can be a little difficult doing everything at once. We do offer classes throughout the entire year. I think we've still got 2 or 3 seats left for our Dallas event that's coming up May 10th. Give Linda a call. If you need to work out a payment plan with her, you can do that. If that helps you out to be able to come in and learn about this industry and find out what you need to know. I'm telling you, I just started out as a manager, as I said before, and I own 3 facilities. And I just think it's a fantastic business. I've been fortunate enough to be able to help 9 other people purchase facilities and become entrepreneurs. And if there's an opportunity to be able to help you do that, and it's something that you really think you would like to do and enjoy doing for the rest of your working life, please give me a call and let's talk about it. So if you have any questions, please let us know what they are. I'll do the best that I can to answer them. And I definitely appreciate you listening and participating in our webinar today. Thank you very much.
Great. We do have some questions that have come in. First one is, if the facility I work with isn't for sale, where do I go to find one?
Okay, well, a lot of times a facility may not be listed for sale, but it might be. I would ask the owner, first of all, especially if you're working there. Who knows? Maybe he's been thinking about retirement, or he's bored and wants to get into some other line of work. Find out from them. If not, there's a lot of different resources that are out there that you can afford to find facilities for sale. I would say go to something like LoopNet. They usually will have an industrial listing where you'll find self-storage facilities for sale. But research is the biggest thing. Maybe check with a couple banks, see if they've had any possessed properties. That can be a good way also.
All right. The next question is, what is a credibility kit, and do I really need one?
Well, I think you absolutely need a credibility kit. The credibility kit is letting the bank or an investor that you're talking to know what your history is, what you're worth, what you've saved, what you've done over your career to be able to get to the place that you're at. Yeah, the credibility kit is a very important first step.
All right. Let's see. Next question. Do you have a formula for marketing dollars or advertising that you use for each facility?
Oh, that's a good question. That's kind of tough one, too. We do and we don't, because each facility is unique in that it depends on what its current market is like. I know that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, but in a smaller town compared to a mid-sized city or even a large city, the area that you're trying to target to find your new tenants is going to vary considerably, so your marketing plan is really going to significantly change from one scenario to another. But it is a good idea to go into that with a plan on how you're going to market it.
And let's see, next question. Do your profit centers bring in what you expect on ROI? And does the ROI vary at each facility?
Yeah, ROI does vary at each facility. And again, a lot of that is based on your facility size, your occupancy numbers, how many people are coming through the doors, small town versus mid-size or big city. Those things are going to factor into what your revenue centers do. Am I happy with revenue centers that I have? I am, but it's still not enough. I still think that they could do more than what they're doing. So that's something that I don't think I'll ever be happy with, to tell you the truth. There's always a way to tweak it, always a way to make it a little bit better, and that's what we try to do at each of our facilities. But like here in Indiana, the Brownsburg facility is night and day different from what we have in Fort Wayne. So you do try to design those revenue streams for what your facility is best at. But truck rental is never a bad thing.
All right, another question. Did you have a lot of money to get into this? How can you get in without a down payment?
No, I did not have a lot of money to get into this. I have 3 kids. How could I have a lot of money? I had saved up a little bit of money. I went and looked for facilities that fit what my savings account would allow me to be able to do. And that's how I originally looked for the facilities, to find that. I know a lot of people love to talk about, oh, you can buy this for 0 down or that for 0 down. And occasionally you can. But for the most part, in the self-storage industry, it's going to be rare that you find a 0 down deal. And usually that comes from a very, very motivated seller. But I think it's reasonable to expect to put down about 10% of what the purchase price is, although sometimes it can be as high as 20%.
Okay, great. Looks like we have time for one more question. You mentioned that you have classes at different locations. How can I find out more about these?
If you go to the website, selfstoragefacilitymanagement.com, and click on the events tab, it'll be in there. Plus the information I told earlier about, there's a form on there you can fill out and send in, or you can just give Linda a call and she can get you all set up and also explain everything to you about it. Over the next few months, we're doing a couple here in Brownsburg. We're doing one in Dallas, one in Oakland, one in Baltimore. So there's a variety of different places that we're going to be at.
Great. Well, if you have any questions, you know how to get in touch now, and we certainly encourage you to expand your information and your knowledge with this great program. We'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We hope that we've provided you with useful information to assist you in your investment or your self-storage development endeavors. You will be receiving an email within the next few days, which will give you a link to the archived presentation, so be sure to watch your inbox for this email. And we also invite you to visit our website for more information regarding upcoming webinars and access to our full range of educational materials and products. Thank you again for attending, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the day.